好啦，各位委員，我哋
Members, let us resume the meeting. There are 4 items on the agenda. The time is quite tight. After the last meeting, since at the last meeting we did not have time to process a few motions, we will now deal with them.
咁亦都提醒各位委員呢，自
I'd like to remind members that there are 7 papers that have been issued since the last meeting. These had to do with the uphill escalators and also the government's response to the Merrow car park issue and also private contractors. All these papers have been forwarded to members. If you have questions, including on the uphill escalators, if we can really set up a subcommittee on that later, the clerk should include these points in papers for that subcommittee. Matters arising. 5 of them. These have to do with strategic studies on railways and major roads beyond 2030. Mr. Lim Chek-ting, I'd like to ask a point of order, please. Today, we are not going to discuss any items for discussion at the next meeting. But as you know, the co-location arrangement for Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge has been the subject of a lot of information being released to the media. It is said that next Monday, the highest echelons of government will hold a briefing, and then after the EXCO on Tuesday, the arrangement will be announced. Mr. Chairman, this is a major issue that has to do with one country, two system, cross-boundary law enforcement, and also the basic law. Can this panel hold an urgent meeting to discuss that arrangement, please? Thank you, Mr. Lim Chek-ting, for your view. We are aware of an imminent announcement of the co-location arrangement. The panel, of course, is concerned. I mean, members also show concern, and I hope, therefore, during the summer recess, we can find a time to hold a special meeting after fixing the timetable with the administration. I need to form a quorum, as you know. So if indeed we have the arrangement announced, the administration might propose to take it up with certain panels and even the House Committee. That is for the administration to announce. Ms. Tanya Chan, Chairman, I think you can take the initiative to invite them to come to this panel which you chair. Of course, the House Committee may also be a suitable forum. But since there will be information, next week there will be a delegation going to Israel. So it may not be easy to form a quorum, but I hope this can be done within the month, so we can invite government officials to come and give an account on the co-location arrangement. This can be a major matter, and it has been delayed for too long. It is said that the bridge can be commissioned in the latter half of the year. But as you know, we have discussed it for a long time, and then at the beginning of the year, we said there would be some proposals, and then it said there was a direction, etc. Mr. Yu Si-wing. Thank you, Chair. I will be out of Hong Kong next week. I believe other members may be in the same situation. Would like to take part in the discussion. If you call a meeting suddenly and we are unprepared, I hope you can consult members to see whether most of us can make it before fixing a date. If you just call a meeting without giving notice, I may find it regrettable because I may not be able to attend. Ms. Claudia Mo, I think we should call a special meeting as soon as possible. You have heard the proposed arrangements. And let us not speculate on the proposed arrangements. No, but this is already urgent. It was said that before the 1st of July, C.Y. Leung of the last term wanted to claim some credit, and he said the option would be proposed. But we did not bring about the delay. The administration delayed it. Well, yes, I understand members' views. You want a discussion and you want it quick. But I need to form a quorum. The transport panel has a big membership. I need to find enough members. When there is an announcement and when we have the proposed arrangements, I will circulate the possible slots and for members to reply. This is a practical issue. We need a quorum for meetings, right? We should have had that meeting before the 1st of July and we would have enough members. Well, the 1st of July has passed. Let us not talk about that anymore. Okay, back to the agenda. 5 motions relating to the strategic studies on railways and major roads beyond 2030. We need to vote on them. First one from Mr. Michael Tin and Mr. Ben Chan. Can we please have it on the screen? Since Mr. Michael Tian told me that in the DAB proposal there was quite a good point and he would like to take it on board, so he revised his original motion. And this is about point 2, and that is to start the feasibility study on Tuen Mun Kowloon Railway as soon as possible. The proposed alignment would be Tuen Mun, So Kun Fat, Tai Lam, Cheng Long Tao, Sham Chan, Bayview Garden, Lei Mok Shi, Shek Lei, Mei Fu, and Lam Cheng. And at the same time, to have the railway divert to Sha Tin Tai Wai at Shek Lei. Mr. Michael Tian took this up and has included that in his motion. I agree and I seconded it. Ms. Tanya Chan. Thank you, Chairman. Can we please have a discussion on our inclination about voting? Well, no, we will just put them to the vote. Those who are in favor, hands up. Those in favor, please record the numbers.
7反對嘅請舉手。
Those against? 1, 2, 3. 3 against. Abstentions? 1. Motion carried. Second one proposed by DAB. Mr. Edward Lau, would you like to go through it? We propose to expand the railway network for NT Northwest. There will be a marked increase in population around 2030 for that area. We urge the administration to make early plans for transportation between NT Northwest and the urban areas, including building a Tuen Mun, Tsuen Wan, Wai-keung, Sha Tin railway, linking up Tuen Mun, Hong Kong Gardens, Sham-Jiang, Tsuen Wan, and Wai-keung, and all the way to Sha Tin Tai Wai. So we have this railway, and there should be an interchange at Wai-keung northeast, so the railway can go southwards to Wai-keung, Cheng-yi, and Kao-yi-chao. When the administration studied the building of Trunk Road 11, it should also consider having a cross-the-harbour railway, which would include a railway and an expressway, so as to facilitate people going to Taiyu North from Hong Shui Kiu and Yuen Long South. And in the long run, it should link up with Kao-yi-chao and the islands, so NT and the islands can be linked up. Those in favor? 8. Those who object? 3. Abstention? 1. Motion carried. The third one from Starry Lee, Wilson Orr. Mr. Wilson Orr. Thank you, Chair. We propose to extend the East Rail to the city, so that we can have an alternative route linking up Kwun Tong and the other areas. And Po Lam station should extend to Hong Kong UST. the railway should span across the Kowloon Peninsula, so it will benefit the future development of Hong Kong UST. Anyone in favor? 8. Those who object? 2. Abstentions? 2. Motion carried. Another one from Yik Chi Ming. Mr. Yu Si-wing, can you read it out? I can't see it. Can you see it? If not, Poon Shiu Ping, can you see it? You can't see it? Then I'll read it out for you. Okay, I have it. I have it. Please, Mr. Yu Si-wing. In 1997, the Ct2 was conducted, and it's been 20 years. During the interim, the models have been upgraded and enhanced. However, the planning horizon will stretch only to 2016. Because of marked changes in demographics, economic development, and transportation, we ask the administration to expand the railway strategy study into CTS4 so it can comply with Hong Kong 2030 plus and the proposals therein. I urge for your support. Okay, those in favor? How many? 11. Those who are against? Abstentions? Okay, no abstentions. The motion is carried. The last one from Kwok-fa, but since Mr. Kwok-fa is not here, it was raised before, and I would accept the proposal of the motion. Since he is not here, who would read it out for him? Yes, please. Alvin. In Hong Kong 20 plus, we still do not have a consensus and a result on the consultation about the East Lantau metropolis. We therefore ask that the 2030 plus study, the main trunk roads with regard to the new strategic growth areas, and also the railway parts with regard to the new strategic growth areas in East Lantau Metropolis and NT North, those should be resubmitted to the panel for discussion again. Okay, this is for taking part of the strategy to the panel for more discussion. Those in favor? 6. Those against? Those against? 6. 7. Abstentions. The motion is not carried. Okay, that's it for matters arising from the last meeting. Today there are 4 items. Let us invite the administration team to come in now. First, legislative amendments to include 3 new toll-free tunnels, namely Central Wan Chai Bypass Tunnel, Longshan Tunnel, and Changshan Tunnel as government tunnels. Can we ask the administration to come in now?
Hi. OK， 如果官員準備好咧，請。
Well, when the administration is ready, can you please walk us through the paper? Thank you, Chairman. First, I will brief members on the paper on legislative amendments. The Central Wan Chai Bypass and Island Eastern Corridor Link and the connecting road that links Sub-Fanning Highway and Ning Tong Hung Yuen Wai boundary country control point is expected to be completed by early next year and end 2019 respectively. There will be 3 toll-free road tunnels, and they are called CBW and LTHYWBCP respectively. The road tunnels government ordinance regulate all government tunnels. we propose to incorporate these 3 tunnels into the Road Tunnels Government Ordinance to provide the legal basis for management of and operation of the tunnels, and also to provide the legal basis for charging the removal fees and permit fees. The CWB is a dual, or rather, is a dual 3-lane, 4.5 kilometers trunk road. We propose that the road markings and also the vehicles and so forth, they will be allowed to use the left lane or the lane next to it when heading for different destinations. And we've also reviewed the road tunnels government regulations, and we consider that the functions of certain signs and markings have become outdated with the development and adoption of electronic display devices. And so we propose to take this opportunity to amend the road tunnels government regulations to reflect the use of signs and markings in tunnels. We propose to brief the panel today, and in early 2018 we will submit legislative proposals to the administration. It will be in the form of negative vetting. Thank you. And I'll read out the names: Claudia Mo, Pun Shiu Ping, Tanya Chen, and Wai Kwok. Any more? All right, 3 minutes each. Ms. Claudia Mo. Well, there's a saying that more convenient the public transport facilities are, more traffic will be attracted. So we have new tunnels and they are toll-free, and there is, now I am really a layman in traffic issues, but there is the argument that 1 year from now, these tunnels will be saturated, and the improvement effect to traffic brought about by CWB will not really materialize. Are experts from the government worried? Ms. Lee, you're correct. The CWB will bring tremendous improvement to the traffic conditions of Island North. And the 3 tunnels are related. And the Transport Department has promised and also started to do a study. Now that there will be an alternative provided by CWB, how should we divert traffic or distribute traffic among the 3 tunnels so as to improve the traffic conditions? Whether of course I would not support a toll tunnel, because when you levy a toll, then I will have the same situation as the Chung-hung cross-harbour tunnel and the West Harbour crossing. My worry is, when I was young, King's Road used to be very congested. Things got a little bit better with the introduction of Island Eastern Corridor, and Gloucester Road was also very congested. And as a result of the road networks in Wan Chai North formed by reclamation, things improved. What if CWB gets congested? Are we going to move further out, or what is your rationale? Is that your philosophy in managing public transport? Well, we have got traffic studies and data where necessary. Infrastructure has to be added. And for CWB, well, as I said, we used, at first we have the Island Eastern Corridor, so the traffic is diverted. And then on the western part of Hong Kong Island, there are highways. Now, Central is rather congested because we do not have a highway there. CWB will provide a link between the north and southern shore of Hong Kong Island. There will be an expressway for motorists. So for people going from west to the eastern part of the island, they can choose CWB, and that will relieve the traffic. Mr. Pun Shiu Ping. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Of course, I have no objection to including these 3 new tunnels into the government tunnel system. And you talked about reviewing the already dated signs and markings. In 2018, the legislative proposals will be introduced to the Council. Will similar amendments be presented to the Council at the same time for examination? And one of the reasons for amending the regulations is because these signs and markings are outdated and are being replaced by electronic display devices. What caused you to draw that conclusion? We will incorporate new tunnels into our road tunnels or government ordinance, and all the signs and markings also apply to tunnels. So this review will only target at signs and markings in our tunnels that are already replaced by EDD electronic display devices. Now for the red crosses and also green arrows, they are now replaced by electronic display devices. But we still see these traffic signs and markings in our regulations. Now this is the opportune time to amend the regulations because they are now replaced already. So after we've dealt with signs and markings applicable to tunnels, then when we deal with the amendments to the ordinance, we'll take the opportunity to amend the signs and markings. Ms. Tony Chen. Now this is related to the CWB. I don't know whether the administration is able to answer that. CWB was supposed to be commissioned earlier, but now there is a delay. There are arguments that there is a big metal item in the way, and it has been followed up on by CE and ED. I've been writing to CE and DD to ask about the situation. I'd like to know how obstructive it is to your CWB, and would there be any adverse impact on the staff? Let's see if the administration can provide an answer. If not, I will follow up with a letter to the administration. Well, is the administration prepared to take this question? The expected commissioning time of CWB is end 2018 or early 2019. What about that metallic object? In fact, it's the vessel, the suspected sunk vessel. Was suspected to be the TAM tank. However, AMO refused to admit to that. However, it was already confirmed by experts from Hong Kong University. I'd like to know whether that would impact on your works, and are you aware of the latest situation? In fact, only only the Works Department would know. And the commissioning date of end 2018 or too early 2019 is information from the Works Departments. For details, I'm afraid we are not in the know. All right, I will pursue through another means. Mr. LAU Kwok, I support the proposal from the administration because we have new tunnels. We have to follow our usual practice because they are managed by the administration. They are toll-free tunnels, and I cannot agree more to this arrangement. Take CWB as an example. It is an important public transport facility to address the traffic congestion on Hong Kong Island. Unfortunately, it is long overdue. If we charge a toll, then it will be a disincentive for people to use it, and as a result, the traffic will continue to cause congestion elsewhere. I, however, have a policy question to ask. Whether roads or tunnels should be toll-free. We are baffled with the criteria. Now, these tunnels are toll-free. This is very reasonable. But for the Lantau link, this is the only link for people to come from NT West to Kowloon, and yet it is toll road. So I'm not really asking for a reply, but with further development on Lantau, there will be population growth in Tung Chung. You can't expect everyone to work and live within Lantau, and they're bound to be cross-district traffic. And if you charge a toll, then this will add to their transportation costs. So what is the basis for deciding whether a certain road or highway should be a toll-free one or not? Mr. Lee, bridges and tunnels are managed on a cost-recovery basis. But for under some circumstances, the tunnels and bridges will be toll-free, and the government will take into account a number of factors: traffic management, the construction cost, the capital cost, the alternative routes available, and also affordability of commuters. So whether a tunnel should be toll-free or not will depend on the prevailing circumstances. Well, this is baffling. If you talk about cost recovery, then these three tunnels should be toll tunnels. But anyway, we support the proposal here to make them toll-free tunnels. And for the North Lantau Expressway, I know that I cannot expect an answer today, but I really hope that the policy be reviewed. It's my turn. For people living in the NT West, they have to pay when they use the Tai Lam Tunnel and also the Ting Ma Link. All these are toll roads and tunnels. So people living in the NT West have to pay more. And then the West Napa crossing is also very expensive. There are calls that the Ting Ma Bridge should not be a toll bridge. In particular, you have Chek Lap Kok Tuen Mun Link. People want all these traffic infrastructure to be toll-free because many people work at the airport, and people from Tung Chung have to come to town to work. Because the tunnel fees are so high, the bus fares are also very high. Of course, we welcome the move to make these three new tunnels toll-free, but isn't it high time for the administration to cancel the tolls for some of the tunnels and railways so that people will not have to pay for use of the Ting Ma Link? Because if these roads and tunnels charge a toll, then this may cause unnecessary congestion. Yes, we've heard your comments, Chairman, in particular when there are alternative routes for these tunnels. Whether these tunnels should continue to charge a toll, will bring back your view to the relevant authorities for consideration. And LED is frequently used for illumination of roads and tunnels, but motorists are concerned that the frequency of LED would be rather unfamiliar to the motorists, and they may not like this mode of lighting. Yes, whether LED should be used in tunnels, we do understand that it can help to save energy. But for Kai Tak and the Hong Harbour Tunnel, in Hong Kong, the weather is very humid. When we change the lighting system, we may as well have a go.
In Kai Tak Tunnel, when we replace the lamps, we'll try that out in one section. In Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge, there are 2 tunnels, and basically we are going to use LED lighting. We'll gauge the effect to see whether it should be extended to all tunnels, and we'll take the opportunity to do so when we replace the lighting. Okay, if there are no other questions. Second round. Okay, yes. I have to draw a line. Anyone else for a second round? If not, only Miss Claudia Mo. And then we'll wrap up discussion of this item. 3 minutes. About public transport facilities and whether they should charge a fee. As Dr. Wai Kwok was saying, you should have a consistent standard and don't do so according to your liking. Don't say you would charge at some and not at others. It's not fair to people in NT West, for example. Yesterday on the government website, there is a reminder that from the 20th of next month onwards, there will be a 2-way charging system. That will be very expensive. And this is not funny anymore. There was this picture from the government website. I don't know whether it is from the transport department. Look at this picture here. It has vehicles going in the opposite direction from the normal Hong Kong traffic. This is very confusing. This is very unbecoming of you. Why did you use such a picture? So 2 questions. 1, why do you want to charge the toll both ways? This is not fair, and you are going to hold up traffic because cars have to stop and pay unless they use auto toll. And how to explain this picture? This is in Hong Kong on the Tsing-yi-Lantau link. Why is it that the traffic goes in the opposite direction from Hong Kong traffic? Miss Lee, why are we going to charge toll both ways when in 1997, when the Lantau link was opened, toll was charged only on one side. However, the kiosks were built for both sides. At that time, it was a matter of traffic safety, and it is said that if vehicles saw the kiosk and they did not have to stop, then it might cause accidents, and accidents did take place. Well, actually, I heard about that. Can you explain about the picture, please? The opposite traffic directions. It is not the usual Hong Kong traffic direction. I defer to the other Miss Lee. Yes, we released a picture yesterday, and in fact there are 2 pictures. One has to do with the present situation. If you go to the airport, it will be like this, and in the middle there are 3 lanes for free flow and the other lanes are closed off, and there is an arrow showing the Kowloon-bound traffic. The second picture has to do with the situation after the 20th when we charge the toll both ways. There may be some misunderstanding because we are talking about airport-bound traffic as well and how the kiosks will be arranged. On the left, there are 2 lanes, 1 auto toll, 1 manual toll. In the middle, there are 5 kiosks. Those would be under construction. And then on the other side, there will be 1 more lane for auto toll and 3 more for manual toll. All these have to do with airport-bound traffic. So there is no question of 2-way traffic. Well, I might have misunderstood you then. Okay, if there are no more questions, let's go to the next item. Thank you, the administration. Next item, replacement of traffic control and surveillance system in Tsing Ma area. The same team? Okay. Can you now take us through the paper then? Please speak into the microphone. Please point the direction of the mic to your position. Chairman, members, we are here to brief members on the replacement of traffic control and surveillance system in the Tsing Ma control area. We'd like to ask members' support for seeking funding from the Finance Committee. The systems are for helping to control and monitor traffic to make sure that the control area will function effectively. These have to do with message signs, overhead vehicle detectors, also facilities for traffic monitoring, including automatic incident detection system and closed-circuit television. This has been with us since 1997, and so over 2 years, and the components are aging, and maintenance is becoming ineffective and also expensive. The risk of system malfunction has increased, and this will be in the way of traffic monitoring, control and direction, and TMCA. If there should be an accident, the subsequent rescue and vehicle recovery operations will be affected as well. We have looked at this with the EMSD trading fund. We'd like to replace the entire system. The new system will be completely computerized on a uniform platform, and there will also be a lot of predetermined modes, and the recurrent expenditure is 298.91 million, but the recurrent expenditure will not be much affected. If we can have approval in the 4th quarter of this year, we will need 5 years to replace it. So by 2022, we would have completed the trial and for it to be commissioned. During the interim, we'll make sure that traffic will still be smooth in the TMCA and will conduct the works mostly in non-peak hours. Hopefully, members can support the proposal, and I am very happy to take questions. Mr. Yu Siwing? Thank you, Chair. The recurrent expenditure is up to $11 million, so it's quite high. Normally, for a new system, there should be a warranty period. Will a fee be charged during the warranty period? If yes, how much? And after the warranty period, will the fee go up or remain the same? And the present system is aging. And maybe the functions of the system can also be improved. What are those improvements so you can reduce the use of manpower, and also will you be able to collect big data so that your work will be assisted and so the system can be as effective as it is designed for? I will kick off and then I'll defer to the EMSD for the details. As I said, the system has been with us for 20 years. As I said, the system has been used for 20 years. When we replace it, there will be some advanced functions. For example, CCTV monitoring malfunction. Today, we need to rely on detectors or sensors on the ground. But now there will be advanced CCTV, and if they should detect a stagnant object, or if there is a blurred object on the screen, and if they should detect smoke, for example, a warning or an alarm will automatically be sounded, and people in the control center will automatically be alerted. This will help us monitor the traffic situation, especially any incidents. Now our staff have to watch the screens of the CCTV, and there might be some delays. Can I defer to the EMSD to explain to you about operation and maintenance? EMSD, Mr. Lee? Chairman. After replacement, there is a warranty period. There will be no fees charged during the warranty period. After that, the management company will negotiate with the system operator to discuss the maintenance fee. How long is the warranty period? It's for 1 year. Why so short? Normally, it should not be so short. Have you tried to secure a longer warranty period? Normally, for EM systems or electronic systems, the warranty period is 1 year. Certainly, we'll look at individual situations. if it is found that some systems are really complex, we may consider longer warranty periods. But if we put that in the contract price will go up. Chairman, you talked about the screens of CCTV, which will have a higher definition. But then this system has been used for 20 years, and I think the new system will be with us for at least 10 years, I think. Is it possible for you to analyze the data on, for example, the daily flow, the daily volume, and then congestions? So when something happens, you will be able to have better data to formulate your response. Have you done this? Or are you just asking for higher definition CCTV without enhancing the collection of big data to another level? Did the supplier talk to you about this? Mr. Lee, Chairman. This time around, we have this enhancement exercise. Overall speaking, we are going to use more advanced computer systems, and we have increased the monitoring facilities. For example, we have the automatic incident monitoring system, and we are going to use advanced image systems in collecting data and in terms of automatic detection. And also, there will be enhancements in computerized control. We will look at future traffic control and management needs, and the system does allow for a big scope of enhancement, and we'll be able to collect the data. Can I just follow up, Chairman? It seems you're not giving a lot of consideration for doing analysis in the medium and long term. This is a new system. Why are you happy with just higher definition cameras? The Chiang-mai Bridge will have to deal with future Lantau development, traffic from Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge, and then there will be the Chalap-Kok-Chin-Mun link. If you do not have data analysis, you won't know what is really happening if there is congestion. I hope you will do data analysis about the dry seasons, peak seasons, and the different times of the day, and also if there is congestion, what probably will be the problem. Because if you have data analysis, you will be helped in all these aspects. If you don't do this, well, if you only have a higher definition cameras, I don't think you are spending the money to achieve the expected results. Ms. Lee, thank you for the question. The system is not just to monitor incidents. It will be able to collect data. After that, there are programmed traffic management schemes. And for traffic diversion, for example, 3 lanes will become 2 lanes. All these programmed traffic scenarios will be fed into the system. One of the most important functions of the system is to monitor the traffic. There are programmed traffic management schemes in order to, for example, have lanes closed, whether 3 lanes should become 2 lanes or 1 lane only, and at what places there should be such closure. And there will be speed limits that can be changed. If it is just 1 lane, it should be 80 to 150, etc. So we are upgrading the entire system, and we'll be able to enhance all these scenarios for better traffic contingency measures.
So that is the direction we are heading for, and there are tremendous possibilities, and then we will have a lot of real data. Ms. Claudia Mo. So you want to replace the TACSS. The amount sought is $298 million. This is a bit awkward. So it's like an item is marked at $90, so it's not 100. I hope you have not cooked the books because it looks worrying. And secondly, it's more expensive than imagined. I thought they would cost tens of millions of dollars. But management fees alone is over $30 million and contingency $24 million. So only experts can tell whether these figures are reasonable or not. And you have para 8, 9, and 10 to explain the figures. But these are just standard. You told us here that these are standard fees and you cannot bargain. Is that right? And thirdly, we're going to replace it in one go. We're going to spend close to $300 million. How long can this system last? 10 years, is it possible? Ms. Lee. The Tengma control area is not just an ordinary tunnel. It is so expensive because it covers a big area. In the south, Route 3, starting from Wai-keung, and then Chung-hung Tunnel, the Tingkao Bridge, extending all the way to Two Moon Highway, Two Moon Road. And on the other side is the Tengma Bridge, Cap Shui Moon Bridge, and the Yan-O interchange. The system is so expensive because the coverage is very wide. It's very different from the Kai Tak Tunnel and the Hong Kong Harbour Crossing, where there is only one tunnel. And the serviceable period will be at least 12 to 15 years. But for the current system, it has served us for 20 years. It all depends on the conditions, the geographical conditions, and also the sewage conditions. But I think it should be able to serve us in the coming 12 to 15 years. But as mentioned, we'll have the Hong Kong-Macau Bridge and also developments on Lantau. Are you confident that it can really serve us for 15 years? I'm rather pessimistic given that the traffic conditions are going to be so busy. I think 10 years is already on the bright side. Are you really confident? Usually, the usual serviceable period for control traffic for TCSS is around that period. Most traffic infrastructure can serve us for that long. And then, given that it is such an important system, we will monitor the conditions and do more for better maintenance. And if we spot a possible problem, we will replace the parts as early as possible. So we are quite confident that it will last us that long. All right, thank you. If there are no further questions, we'll go on. Or rather, Mr. Poon Siu-ping. Thank you, Chairman. I have a simple question. Now, you told us that the system can serve us for 10 to 15 years. In fact, sometimes the repair and maintenance costs are so high because the spare parts are no longer available. Now, depreciation will be part of the cost structure. I don't know whether this will have an impact on the future charges. And the recurrent expenditure is about $11 million, more or less the same as what it is, but is repair and maintenance covered? Anyone? Mr. Lee? EMST or TD? First, on the cost of the bridge, I mean the charge. Indeed, future fees and charges will cover the capital expenditure. But then, if we spread out for 10 to 15 years, then the repair and maintenance cost will only account for a very small section, a very small fraction of the total cost. That means you cannot guarantee that there will be no increases, but will that the adjustment be done in phases? When we review the charges of roads and tunnels and bridges, we will consider the cost. But the cost only account for a very small amount of the daily management and operation of the infrastructure if we spread out for 10 to 15 years. So the cost will not be very significant when it comes to the calculation of the charges. Now for tunnels such as Chiang-ma control area, they're managed by management, operation, and maintenance contract. The recurring costs will only account for about 5% of the contract fees. All right. Any questions? Do we agree that this can go to the Finance Committee? Next. Progress of the review of roadworks safety requirements.
好，咁我哋請另外一批嘅官員入場。歡迎政府代。
Please invite another batch of officials to come in. Let us welcome the team from the administration to this part of our meeting.
好，我哋請政府當局介紹。
Yes, please introduce paper to us. I know you have prepared a PowerPoint presentation. Thank you, and good morning, Chairman and members of the panel. We are very pleased to be here this morning to report to you our progress of the review of roadworks safety requirements. You may be aware that the Transport Department, the Highways Department, and the THB has set up an interdepartmental working group to look at the new technological developments. We will review the arrangements for the lighting, signing, and guarding of roadworks, so that the code of practice for the lighting, signing, and guarding of roadworks will be amended from time to time. In the middle of last year, there were a few serious accidents involving roadworks, and therefore the working group further reviewed the enhancement of lighting, signing, and guarding requirements comprehensively to improve the safety protection measures for roadworks, and the code has been amended. And on the 16th of June 2017, we gazetted the 5th edition of the code. And come the 1st of January 2018, the new code will come into effect. So the code has been gazetted, and then it would also take effect next year. We would want to ensure that the measures are implemented ASAP, and then on the 1st of November last year, the Highways Department already introduced these new measures contained in the code into contracts involving the department. And then we also want to further enhance the guarding measures for safe roadworks. So we've considered incorporating the requirements into our legislation so that people who violate the requirements will have to be liable. And we are now discussing with the DOJ to see how the relevant legislation should be amended. So when we are ready, we'll come back to consult the Council. Regarding details of the review of the code, I will give the floor to my colleague, Mr. Ng, to supplement. Mr. Ng? Thank you, Chairman and members of the panel. Good morning. May I use a PowerPoint presentation to brief members on the progress of the review of roadworks safety requirements? Now, the Highways Department has got the Road Traffic Ordinance CAP 374. We have prescribed a code of practice for the lighting, signing and guarding of roadworks. And when we carry out roadworks, contractors have to comply with the code to ensure the safety of road users and roadworks workers. The first code was formulated in 1984, and with the objective of ensuring safety in mind, the code has been revised from time to time. The latest revised version was gazetted on the 16th of June 2017 for implementation on the 1st of July 2018. The latest revision was handled by an interdepartmental working group with representatives from the TD and the police force. As early back as in 2014-15, the working group has carried out a review on the 4th edition of the code, and in 2016 there were a few serious traffic accidents involving road workers and vehicles, and then the working group expeditiously further reviewed the enhancement of lighting, signing and guarding requirements comprehensively, and the review covered a few areas. First, we carefully considered views from the industry and the public. And we also made reference to latest development overseas, and in the light of local experience, we work out the scope appropriate to our local circumstances. The purpose is to enhance protection to road workers and road users when there are road works. After many months of hard work, the 5th edition of the code, as I said, was gazetted on the 16th of June this year for implementation on the 1st of July 2018. While the working group was working on the review of the code, the Highways Department maintained very close liaison with the industry to understand their views on enhancing protection for road workers and revision of the code. After many rounds of consultations, we understand the views of stakeholders, and in fact they share the objectives of the working group.
All in all, from the review, we have come to understand that regarding lighting and these requirements, Hong Kong has more or less the same requirements as overseas countries. In order to provide even more protection, the working group proposes that where the speed limit is 70 km, there should be even more protection and even more sufficient safety clearance. And the working group emphasizes the provision of adequate time and space by responsible persons for the setting up and removal of the illumination and protective measures so that there will be less risk for workers and users alike. In order that motorists will be given more advance warning, the working group proposes to upgrade requirement on retroreflective material for temporary traffic signs so that we can comply with the latest standards of the US and the EU. With regard to the flashing arrow signs, we propose to improve their uses so motorists will be given advance warnings of roadworks ahead. As for mobile operations, and the working group is proposing to extend the use of shadow vehicles equipped with truck-mounted attenuators to expressways and also roads with a speed limit of 70 kilometers per hour. And also there should be a shadow vehicle, because if there is going to be bumping by vehicles that follow on, such vehicles will be able to absorb the impact in order to reduce the extent of damage. And this will also provide more protection for the workers and other road users. The code also stipulates that where the speed limit is 70 kilometers or above, if there will be the closure of roads for works, then in front of the work zone, there must be a longitudinal safety clearance zone. And also there must be vehicles equipped with truck-mounted attenuators or temporary safety barriers with an appropriate containment level. It's the same arrangement as what we have now, because the temporary safety barriers with an appropriate containment level or vehicles with trunk-mounted attenuator will be able to absorb any impact. So there will be effective protection for road users and workers. And for the shadow vehicles themselves, the code also improves the specification of retroreflectivity on the rear of truck-mounted attenuators, and also the minimum weight of such shadow vehicles. All these have been included in the 5th edition that has just been gazetted. As I was saying, in order to upgrade roadwork safety as soon as possible, at the same time that the working group revised the code on the 1st of November 2016, the Highways Department has already implemented requirements 4 to 6 in my report. And these requirements would apply to all roadworks on roads with a speed limit of 7 km or above. So we can step up safety protection for workers and users. These measures have been smoothly implemented. At the same time, we are considering amending the relevant legal provisions. Our initial proposal is to amend the road traffic control regulations, or CAP 374G, with an aim to incorporating the measures in the code into the law. Offenders will be criminally liable. The Highways Department is seeking advice from the DOJ on the proposed legislative amendments will consult the Legislative Council as appropriate. This is what I like to report to members. Thank you. Thank you. Questions from members? The order will be Claudia Mo, Poon Siu Ping, Jeremy Tam. Any more? Okay. Ronick Chan and myself, Claudia Mo. In the middle of last year, on Qingkwai Expressway outside May 4, there was a maintenance project in the middle of the night, and then there was an accident and 3 workers were bumped by vehicles and 2 died. This is a tragedy. The administration is proposing legislative control, but then the code does not have any legal binding effect. It's just like the access to information code. Even if you ask for information from the government, according to the code, it can turn a deaf ear to your request. Now you say you want to incorporate the code measures into the law and you are talking to the DOJ. Of course, that is good, but the code has been gazetted. Should there be a transitional period so that it will be effective only next year? The code itself is not legally binding, and yet you are delaying its implementation. Secondly, you want to incorporate it into the law. Do you have a timetable? Please do not take 3 years for it to be done. When can you come back to the Legislative Council about the legislative amendments? Mr. Choi. Thank you, Chairman. In the revised code, we have enhanced the safety measures. And in fact, there are many other amendments. In order that the sector will be given time to get prepared, we have stipulated that this will come into effect on the 1st of January 2018, even if it has been gazetted. Very often when roadworks are conducted on expressways, most of them have to do with maintenance done by our department. We do hope to implement the protective measures as soon as possible so we have better protection for the workers. In November last year, we have adopted such measures for all highways department projects. There will not be 100% coverage yet vis-à-vis roadworks. But the majority of projects have adopted such measures. Secondly, the legislative timetable. We are talking to the DOJ and we have the same stance. We want to do this ASAP. For the protective measures to be given a legal effect, so other people can comply with those. Do you have a timetable? Mid next year? Can you come back in the middle of next year? Well, he said so. He said ASAP. He did not say when. Indeed, we cannot be too specific. Apart from the legislative proposals, we also have to consider the timing because the DOJ is working on other projects. We hope we can come back ASAP. Poon Siu Ping. Thank you, Chair. We welcome legislative amendments to give better protection to roadworks workers. We want it to be done ASAP. But anyway, I must compliment the Highways Department for already implementing the code after the review. I have 2 questions, please. Number 1, the code started in 1984. Every roadworks project has to be the subject of application to the Highways Department, you will vet it and you will also inspect the works. I'd like to ask you whether there have been contractors who did not comply with your code, for example, to have a shadow vehicle and the placing of traffic cones, so that you have got these figures of non-compliance. Now this is a high-risk line of work. You said in the latest review, you considered the latest operations overseas. Very often roadworks are done in the night in Hong Kong. Workers and users of the roads will be affected. Is it that people also usually work in the night overseas also? In your review, did you see that people have a particular arrangement for works in the night? Thank you, Chair. About contractors complying or not complying with the code, maybe the last edition of the code, with regard to the placing of road signs and lights, our colleagues did conduct inspections from 2011 to the first half of 2017. We conducted spot checks and random checks to the tune of 15,400. Our staff would check 7 locations on average every night. Indeed, we discovered some non-compliance, but they are not of a big number. From 2011 to the first half of 17, there were 280 non-compliance cases. We would ask the contractors to rectify the situation right away. And there is also a system of fines. If it is a serious non-compliance case, there could be a negative entry in the performance report of the contractors. That can go some way to affect their success of bidding for government projects in future. This is a big deterrent. This may be my brief reply for the moment. Mr. Jeremy Tam, 2 questions. 1, do you have a figure about accidents involving these work vehicles, say for last year or the last few years? Secondly, have you considered the weather when you drew up the code? And I'm talking about rain, fog. Thank you. In Appendix 1, Mr. Tam, you have the figures. And Mr. Choi, you can answer the other questions. In 2016-17, if we look at accidents involving these works vehicles, there were 4. The 28th of June on Ching Kwai, that was in 2016. There were 17 accidents of various dimensions. And with regard to fatalities, perhaps I can defer to my colleague.
According to information from the DD in 2016 to June 2017, when it comes to accidents involving vehicles of roadworks, in 2016 there were 17 cases, and from January to June 2017, 15 cases, and the number of deaths. In 2016, 4 lives were lost, and 2 from January to June 2017. These are statistics from the TD. Second question, please. We always follow up on the accidents. We will analyze the causes of these accidents. For instance, we consider whether the contractors have strictly complied with the code. No, my question is whether the code takes into account the weather conditions. Whereas the factors involved may have something to do with the attitude of the contractor or the workers or the motorists. Regarding the climate or the weather, we don't think this is a part of the reasons for the accident. No, I asked about the code. I asked a very short question waiting for you to reply. Is there anything in the code about the weather conditions, for instance, when it is raining or when the visibility is low, there should be no works? Well, we do not have such things in the code. In designing the signs, the markings, we follow international standards. Of course, when the situation is really bad, some road works cannot proceed. For instance, if there is a rainstorm, some works cannot take place at all. But what is meant by very heavy rain? And what about visibility? If you haven't got any specification in the code, who is to decide? Will you include consideration of the climate, of the weather conditions in your code? Yes, we can further consider that. Mr. Ronick Chen. Thank you. So, for expressway, you will expand it to roads with a speed limit of 70 kilometers or above. In fact, the accidents are not confined to roads where the speed limit is 70 kilometers. If the motorist's driving attitude is a problem, then even those with a speed limit of 50 kilometers would be a problem. Since you have expanded the scope, why can't you apply it to all road works that take place at night? Is it because of cost considerations, or are there international standards? And in fact, I do keep track of accidents involving the aero vehicles. Now, for the shadow vehicles, you have specified the weight. But what about the absorbing power? Do you ensure that they are in line with international standards? And page 9 of the PowerPoint. For the arrow signs, the flashing arrow signs, it only appear in a certain clearance from the shadow vehicles. Why can't you start from where the traffic cones are placed? You should have the flashing arrow signs right where you have the traffic cones, so as to give sufficient warning to motorists. Is there something international standards? Well, for the code, it covers a very big area. For instance, on roads where the speed limit is 50 kilometers, there are specifications on arrangements of the flashing arrow signs and so forth. The code this time enhances the safety requirements for high-speed expressways, And for the shadow vehicles, there are international standards. I can defer to my colleagues for elaboration. As regards whether the flashing arrow signs can be placed right in front of the traffic cones. Before we close a lane, we have advance warning signs. We have warning signs to remind motorists that the road will narrow down. Because these signs also take up space. Now, if we place them earlier, that means we will advance the narrowing of the road. So the flashing arrow signs will start where the narrowing begins, and before that we will have warning signs to warn motorists, and the flashing arrow signs will only be placed where temporary diversion begins. Mr. Hong? Thank you. Now for the shadow vehicles. According to the U.S. standards, now we comply with the third tier requirements. And this is already the most stringent standard internationally adopted. If we want to raise it further, then the attenuator, the size of the attenuator will even be bigger. And that will pose difficulty for many of the roads in Hong Kong. So this is already the third level with the stringent attenuation requirements. For roads where the speed limit is below 70 kilometers, as said in the code, although the measures apply to roads where the speed limit is 70 kilometers or above, but we say right from the beginning that the person in charge of the works will have to assess the limit, the speed of the coming vehicles. If the speed is actually over 50 kilometers, then the guarding arrangements should be at a standard equivalent to public roads of a speed limit of 70 kilometers or above. So you have reviewed the road works safety requirements. Of course, I welcome that, because the traffic accident last year shocked many members of the public, and we see that roadworks workers are at risk when working at night, so we should ensure their safety. Now I have a few questions. When you put the guarding arrangements, you put the traffic cones there manually. There may be someone on a vehicle to place the traffic cones. I think the placing of traffic cones can be dangerous as well, because when road diversion starts, there are sufficient warning signs to let people know that workers are working. So it may not be appropriate to place the traffic cones manually. I think there are automatic systems available. For instance, vehicles can very quickly help you to place the traffic cones to reduce the need to do so manually. Will the administration consider introducing such new measures? And for guarding arrangement that are not up to standard or are still risky, I think we need the public to help to monitor. Will you set up an around-the-clock hotline so that people can call you when they see any irregularities in the guarding arrangement. And then for speeding, yes, some roads, some vehicles should slow down, but there may still be speeding when road works are taking place. Will you work with the police when you have nighttime road works? Will you have joint operation with the police to crack down on speeding? You may even place camera there to catch speeding, because when the motorists know that there are cameras there to catch speeding, they tend to slow down. Whether we should have mechanical or manual placing of traffic cones, we are considering this as well. We know that if we can reduce the need for manual operation, that would mean better protection for our workers. We did market survey. We are trying to see whether there are suitable mechanical devices overseas to help us to place traffic cones. Perhaps Mr. Hong can share with you our findings. Now, for mechanical devices available in the market, they do not suit our demand. But we have not given up. Together with the Productivity Council, we are carrying out some research and development. We may invent our own mechanical devices to be installed on vehicles to help us to place the traffic cones. We are also designing low platform vehicles so that workers do not have to alight in placing traffic vehicles or in carrying out simple road works. So both are in the stage of development. We hope that such new devices can be tested as soon as possible. And usually we have a phone number at our roadworks site, so that if members of the public need to complain or to report to us any irregularities, they can use that number. Will we further enhance the arrangements? We'll see whether we can do so to enhance the public's involvement in helping to monitor the arrangements. Regarding joint operation with the police to catch speeding, yes, we will explore with the police. In our latest edition of the code, depending on circumstances of the case, where need be, we can consider lowering the speed limit on a temporary basis to enhance safety for workers. Mr. Hong can share with you our findings of the market survey. Mr. Hong. Well, after the tragic accidents, we did a few things at once. First, we reviewed the code, and then in parallel, we started to research on automatic devices to install the safety instruments. If we can have suitable commodities overseas, it will be the best, because it will be most expeditious. We've also putting considerable efforts to approach different places such as the US, the UK, and also European countries. When we see new inventions on YouTube. We will ascertain from them whether these products are suitable for Hong Kong. So after many rounds of contacts, it's found that these products are put to limited use overseas only.
And very often, the companies did not really give us any positive reply. And when they did, all of the products could not comply with the cone placing standards in Hong Kong. Say, for example, we asked that the traffic cones should be placed in a slanted manner, and that could not be done by vehicles. And also we said that there should be a lamp placed on the tip of the traffic cones. Again, the automated installation cannot do it. But we did not give up. Even if overseas companies could not help, we liaised with Hong Kong suppliers, and according to Hong Kong needs, we are trying to come up with the mechanization we need. And we have commenced that for a few months, and we hope that as soon as possible we'll be able to have some kind of rudimentary mechanism that can be used. Well, I don't think you can directly introduce such automated installation into Hong Kong, but they can be converted, say, the placing of a lamp on the tip of the traffic cone. Well, I hope you will come up with such mechanized or automated installation as soon as possible, so it's not so dangerous for the workers. Mr. Yu Si-wing, I was at another meeting, so maybe I will be repeating some of the points already raised. You are expanding this to roads with a speed limit of 70 km or above. There were a few incidents in the past. Did they all take place on roads with a speed limit of 70 km and above? If that's the case, then what you're proposing is all right. And have you looked at roads where the speed limit is below 70, but then there was speeding, and so that led to incidents? Otherwise, your new measure may not be effective, because there could be speeding on roads where the speed limit is below 70, and then there could still be injuries. Second, you will kick in the code on the 1st of January 2018. Will you step up publicity to alert motorists that they should not drive with no regard to road safety, and they should not speed, because that can bring about accidents? Can you also try to raise the awareness of road safety among road users? Thank you. In fact, some members asked whether the code is applying only to roads with a speed limit of 70 km or above. In fact, I explained that that is not the case. The code also cover roads with a speed limit of 50 km, but this time around we are focusing on roads with a speed limit of 70 km or above, because we want to make special effort about protective measures for road works that are conducted on these roads. So it seems that is the focus of the code, but actually the code does cover other roads with other speed limits, and we are also upgrading the requirement on retroreflectivity. There was another question about road accidents, whether they all happened on roads with a speed limit of 70 km or above. Well, yes, I can say it's the majority. But of course, there were individual cases where the speed limit was 50 km. But it was found that some motorists did not drive within the speed limit. And if we look at accidents that happened on roads with a speed limit of 50 km, those were not serious cases. That is why we are focusing on roads with a speed limit of 70 km or above to increase the protective measures. And in the code, we remind the persons in charge of such works that even if a road section has a speed limit of 50 km, if it is a straight road, some motorists might exceed the 50 km limit. And the persons in charge should upgrade the protective arrangements according to the actual situation. Therefore, the upgrading this time around should still be effective. This is my response. What about publicity? Yes, we are going to do it. Together with the Transport Department and the police, we are going to enhance publicity and education on road safety. The TD has released information on roadworks on mobile devices, so motorists can be alerted to the locations for roadworks. Apart from information dissemination, we of course have to also enhance the actual arrangements on the road. That is why we have revised the code. Thank you. If there are no other questions, we'll go to the next item. Okay, let's go to the next item. Thank you very much, Mr. Choi, and Mr. Hong, and also Ms. Chung. You still have a question? Oh, yes. Yes, okay, Mr. Leung Chi-Chang, you can have a go, and then we'll wrap up the discussion. Thank you. Sorry, I raised my hand too late. You will come back to the Legislative Council because you want to propose amendments to the law. The amendments would involve worker safety issues. When workers work on such projects now, are they covered by the traffic laws or labor laws? What laws are you going to amend? Will you take up the matter with trade unions or operators? Will you do the consultation before coming back to LegCo? Because you are upgrading the protective requirements, you will have very specific standards. And then about the degree of illumination, are there stipulations? I don't worry about night works because when there is a flashing light, it's always clear. But in the daytime, even if there is a flashing light, motorists can hardly see it. Why, I haven't dug up all the time of the day when there are accidents. I believe they should mostly happen during the daytime because the flashing light cannot be seen in daytime. So I think you should do something about the illumination level so that motorists can always be alerted. Can you have more specific legislation on this? Mr. Choi. Thank you, Chairman. We are talking about amending 374G, which is road traffic control regulations. Certainly, when roadworks are conducted, whether we talk about the traffic laws, in fact, the labor laws will also apply, but we are talking about upgrading protection for workers when roadworks are conducted on traffic roads, and this is where the road traffic control regulations will apply. We are looking to revise those so we can include these protective measures into the law. Okay, you are going to amend the traffic laws. But in the labor laws, there are penalties for not wearing a safety harness. Would there be a duplication of penalties? Well, this is exactly why we need some time to look into the legislative arrangements with the DOJ. That is why, for the moment, we can't come up with an exact timetable for coming back to the Legislative Council. Some details of the law must be looked into first. We have been having close liaison with the sector and trade unions, especially after the last accident. I can say that we worked together with them to see how roadworks safety can be enhanced. We attended quite a number of meetings, large ones, and also contacting individuals. We collected views and we included those which were appropriate into the code. We also responded as to why we did not take up other points. The consultation and liaison will continue. When we have come up with specific legislative amendments, we will again conduct another round of consultation with the stakeholders. As for the illumination level of the warning signs, can I defer to Mr. Hong? Mr. Hong, please. Chairman, I can tell members that in the code, the illumination level of the signs is stipulated. We say we should follow the EU standards. And as for the flashing arrow sign, again, the illumination is stipulated in the code. There are specific stipulations for the daytime and the night. Allow me to say that if we look at the last 5 years and accidents involving roadworks, the serious accidents happened in the night. There were some in the daytime, but they were not so serious. Therefore, we have to make sure that the signs are visible to motorists in the night. Okay, thank you. Just now I drew a line already, but Mr. Michael Look, is it that you like to ask a question? Please be very brief. Thank you, Chair. First, it seems you are not training enough people for operating the shadow vehicles. I now know that only lecturers at the Hong Kong School of Motoring are teaching operators for shadow vehicles. Do you also allow private driving instructors to do the training? Because I understand that there is a shortage of operators of shadow vehicles. Mr. Yu Si-wing asked about roads with a speed limit of 70 kilometers or below. Can you explain the measures, please? Because workers and trade unions have shown concern towards roads with speed limit below 70 km because they want their safety protected as well. Thank you. After the accident last year, we asked the School of Motoring to provide training to drivers of contractors. As to whether another organization can provide the appropriate training, we can go back and take a look. As for roads with a speed limit of below 70 km and what enhanced measures have been taken so that roadworks are also safe, can I defer to Mr. Hong, please? Mr. Hong. In the code, the new measures with regard to retroreflectivity are present, and we are also talking about crash barriers, and those are not applicable only to roads with a speed limit of 70 km or above. Indeed, they apply to other roads.
And measures for roads with a speed limit of over 70 kilometers. Now, if in roads where the speed limit is below 50 kilometers, if the vehicles are speeding, then these the measures for the 70 kilometers roads can also be used. Yes, although the speed limit is 50 kilometers, but if the vehicles are traveling at quite a high speed, then after discussion with the Highways Department, higher standards can apply. Does that mean that the same standards will apply to roads whether the speed limit be 70 kilometers or 50 kilometers? Am I correct? Now, for some straight road, such as Chung-hung Road near the Albertine Tunnel, if the speed, yes, the speed limit is 50 kilometers, but if the speed is over 50 kilometers, then the engineers will have to ascertain the actual speed. If the speed is equivalent to 70 kilometers or higher, then the guarding arrangements will apply. To put it simply, we have stated in the code that the person responsible for the works will have to assess the speed of vehicles. And we have very specific standards in the code. Although there may be speed limits on roads, still the person in charge of the works will have to assess the actual situation. When necessary, the guarding arrangement can be enhanced. We have to control time. I'll redraw the line beforehand, and so for the two members who just came in, I'm afraid I cannot give you the floor. You may have to follow up on another occasion, because we have to advance a little bit for the next item. Staffing proposal for a project management office of the Highways Department.
好，如果政府部門準備好呢，就請幫我哋介紹文件。
When the administration is ready, please walk us through the paper. Thank you, and good morning, member and chairman and members of the panel. The paper proposes to retain 3 supernumerary posts and 2 chief engineers, and to extend 1 redeployment permanent chief engineer post in the project management office under the Highways Department, currently known as the Hong Kong-Macau Bridge and Hong Kong Project Management Office, and will be renamed as the Major Works Project Management Office Special Duties. There are media reports that the Hong Kong section of the Hong Kong-Macau Bridge cannot be completed by the end of this year. Let me say that the Hong Kong section of the Hong Kong Bridge will be completed by the end of 2017 and will be ready for commissioning. So the workload associated will reduce, and therefore the Highways Department proposes to retain these posts for 2 years and 3 years respectively, and their duties will also be adjusted. Now there is principal engineer in the office, supported by 3 engineers. One is responsible for the Hong Kong boundaries, and the other is responsible for the link road. For the 3 chief engineers, one will be responsible for the link road, and the other will be responsible for the southern part of the link road, and also investigation study for the Two Moon West bound traffic, and then the remaining works. And the other engineer will be responsible for dealing with claims and settlements. And I'd like to take this opportunity to respond to media reports. In end 2015 and early 2016, when the government sought funding for supplementary funding for the works, we already gave a very clear account of the progress of the Hong Kong section. Well, the necessary facilities will be completed in end 2017, and the remaining will be completed in early 2018 or mid-2018. We have never hidden anything from the public. For the Two Moon Kwok link, as early as in end October last year, there were already a press release to tell the public that because of the challenges and the difficulties, it might not be completed as planned. And on the 17th of March, the Highways Department issued a press release once again that based on the progress report from the contractor, barring unforeseen factors, the link can be completed in early 2017, the earliest, and if the contractor can be cooperative and complete the revised design appropriately, then for the northern part of the link road, it can be completed in 2020, the earliest. In end 2019 and end 2020, in the light of the progress of the link road and also the handling of the claims, and consider whether these posts will need to be kept. According to the workload of the Highways Department, we believe that the proposals in this report is the only way to ensure that the Two Moon Kwok link road and the Two Moon Western Bypass and the remaining works of the Hong Kong-Macau Bridge Hong Kong section and the Hong Kong boundary crossing facilities can be completed. Thank you. I'll read out the names: Ms. Tanya Chen, Mr. LAU Kwok-fan, Mr. Leung Chi-chung, Mr. Yu Siu-ing, and Mr. Wu Chi-wai, and myself. Ms. Tanya Chen, how many minutes? 3 minutes. Okay. First, I will follow the paragraphs of the paper. Paragraph 6 is about the northern connection. I think the director was present at the press briefing, talking about whether the contractor was very cooperative. Now, I think I'd like to know what is the progress and whether the contractor has been cooperative. And paragraph 7. Now, for the Two Moon Western Bypass, I can understand the situation when there are views from the district councils and also members of the public. It has to be adjusted to take into account views. But for Chief Engineer 2, well, I believe that the works cannot be completed by the 31st of December 2020. That is where the post would expire. It would be a while before Two Moon WB can be completed. So do you have any expected completion date? And paragraph 8, I think you are responding to what was reported in Oriental Daily, where the commissioning will be by phases. So you talked about no later than 2018. In fact, when we're in the middle of 2017, I think the really indispensable part of the section, I think you should have an idea as to when it will be commissioned. 3 questions for the time being. Thank you, Ms. Tanya Chen, for your question. All right, I will follow the order of your questions. In March, in a media briefing, I mentioned that back then, when working on the Northern Connection, the contractor was not very cooperative. But in recent months, we've been discussing with them, and I think they have improved in this regard. We urged the contractor a number of times, and their side could only give us very preliminary designs. But as discussions went on, as we pressurize the contractor, they have been more cooperative recently. I've only got 10 seconds left. I am afraid, actually, Director, can you give me a reply in writing? And then I sent you a letter in March, but you have not yet responded, and we'd like to talk about the shifting of the columns of the bridge. Can you give us a reply? We already gave you a reply. Perhaps there was something wrong with the post. We will give you a copy afterwards. Okay, thank you. We have a yes-see meeting, so I hope they can give me a written reply. Mr. LAU Kwok-fan. Now, are we concerned that some of the supporting infrastructures are not yet completed, such as the airport tunnel and also the completion phases of the Northern Connection and the Southern Connection, so on and so forth. Now, if the supporting structures are not yet ready, will be the case that there will be bottlenecks even after the Hong Kong-Macau Bridge is commissioned, causing congestion. So you're going to retain the 4 engineers mentioned in the paper to monitor the remaining works. What if there is serious congestion after commissioning of the bridge? Will there be resources available? Or will there be traffic measures to relieve the congestion caused? Thank you. The Hong Kong-Macau Bridge is expected to be commissioned in the end of this year, and then the Twin Moon WB and also the Southern Connection are not ready in time. We have done a traffic impact assessment. If the Southern Connection cannot be ready in time, then vehicles from Hong Kong to Macau Bridge will have to make use of existing roads on the airport island. We have done a TIA, and the conclusion is, in the first 2 years, i.e. in 2017 and 18, the traffic flow will not cause unacceptable impacts, and at major road functions, unacceptable. That means major congestion can happen. Let me put it this way. That means there won't be major congestion, and at important junctions we will carry out junction improvement works to ease traffic flow. Will you monitor the situation, and do you have contingency measures ready? You have got various connections and link roads to divert traffic, but if the traffic is now focused here, I'm worried that there will be congestion at bottlenecks. The TDN and the Highways Department will monitor the traffic situation, and if there is any traffic congestion, we will we will introduce measures to improve the situation. Mr. Leung Chi-chung. On extending the supernumerary posts and also the workload, Caroline mentioned that one important duty is to deal with claims, given that the value is over $70 billion. There are bound to be different levels of claims.
So you need a team of people with different expertise in order to tackle possible claims. Is that one of the reasons why you want to extend these 4 supernumerary posts for 2 years? This is what you state in the paper, but I have also heard from the director that some contractors did not cooperate, they did not do the design for you, but now we have supernumerary posts. Still, they cannot complete the work. I'm not opposing to extending the 4 supernumerary posts, but you must reassure me that if we allow this, you will certainly be able to complete your job. Director, can you explain? Can you give that guarantee? Director, we are retaining 3 supernumerary posts of chief engineers. 2 of them are responsible for taking forward the Chung-hung link. Of course, they also look after other projects. Another one is responsible for the remaining works of the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge Hong Kong section. And he is responsible for what Mr. Leung mentioned. That is the handling of claims. We would expect that that chief engineer should handle such work as well. And as the member was saying, there could be variations of the project and there may be other factors that might lead to claims. And we have stated the possible amount up to $8.8 billion. But you have to tell me, is it that by extending these posts, you will definitely be able to complete all the remaining work and achieving your expected results? We believe we can achieve the expected results. Thank you, Chair. Mr. Yu Si-wing. Thank you, Chair. One of these 4 posts is responsible for the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge, which is going to be commissioned at the end of the year. You are asking for an extension of 3 years. Compared to the approach road, it is said that that would be completed by 2019-2020. In other words, after Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge is completed, there will still be very complicated and very long or extended remaining works. Well, there may be the cross-boundary facilities that have to be looked after, or else why do you need 3 years for the follow-up work after the bridge is completed? Secondly, the Chung-hung link, it will be completed in 2 phases. The northern side by 2020. But for your engineer, you want to retain it until the 31st of October 2019. That is 2019. However, the completion date is 2020. Will the northern section be looked after by other engineers? Because you have to be careful about the dates. Director. First, I'd like to explain that 2 CEs are extended for 2 years, we hope. One is responsible for the remaining works of the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge, and we expect those to be completed in 2018. And then there will be another year to take care of litigation and claims from contractors. The other CE is responsible for the southern section of the Tuen Mun Chalap Kok link, which will be completed by mid-2019. So we'd like to extend this post until the end of 2019. As for the northern part, we believe it can be completed the soonest by 2020. In other words, in 3 years' time. Therefore, we are proposing for this extension period, which will complement the estimated completion time. By mid-2019 and by mid-2020, we will take stock of the progress then. Chairman, so is it that for A, the project manager, Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge, will be retitled to Project Manager Major Works Special Duties. So he will not just look after Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge, and so he can also look after the northern section of the Tuen Mun Chalap Kok link. Is that right? Yes. Mr. Wu Chi-wai. Chairman, I asked the Highways Department to give me more information. Look at para 6. It talks about many complicated technical problems, so there is a lot of pressure on the works project. Maybe you cannot give the details today. I am happy with the written reply. And I'd like to know how that would impact on the completion date and the price of the project. Another one, the southern connection. This is in para 25. You say you expect a lot of project variation and claims. Can you give me very specific information about what problems you are facing here and how that would impact on the project cost and project time? We are going to ask these questions sooner or later. And number 3, let us go back to para 8, which says that stage 2 of the works will be considered according to the traffic flow that can be gauged from the first stage. I remember we had this heated argument with the administration about the bridge, and that is you haven't started stage 2, you have enough money to conduct the crucial works for stage 1, and now you state here that stage 2 did not have to get started because you can gauge the traffic flow and people flow after the commissioning of the cross-boundary checkpoint after stage 1 is commissioned. So I'd like to ask you, if you have the money, under what condition would that be used? And if the results of your survey are such that the results are not satisfactory, is it that you would return the money? Director, we can supply the written reply. Mr. Wu asks about the second phase of Hong Kong border cross facility and where the money is. Well, the money is put aside after the review. If we will take up the second phase, we will use the money. But if the second phase is not necessary, the money will not be spent. In other words, we will return to the Treasury. Well, Chairman, this is exactly the controversy when a supplementary provision was sought for the bridge. You did not have to embark on stage 2. You would be gauging the results of stage 1, but then you deliberately asked for extra money that you might not need from the council. Director, I can look at it from another angle. After commissioning, we will do a review ASAP. Since the money is already there, we can launch phase 2 as soon as possible. This arrangement has its own advantages. Okay, it's my turn. The artificial island of the bridge, well, the project will not be completed to tie in with the commissioning of the bridge. Now, when the bridge is commissioned, traffic will be squeezed onto one road. So Tung Chung and Chiang Mai Bridge might not be able to cope. Secondly, the northern connection for Tuen Mun Chek Lap Kok link is such that you state in the paper that it is still there. It is just that you haven't made preparation for the tunnel to come up from that point. So was it a point of the design, or was it that you just did not reserve the space for it? Who is to be responsible? And the extra cost, who should bear it? Should it be the public purse or the project people? Thank you, Chairman. Let me talk about the traffic situation. Originally, we said there would be a northern and southern connection for Tuen Mun Chek Lap Kok link. We hoped that the southern connection could be commissioned together with the bridge, so traffic can be connected to the North Lantau Highway after leaving the bridge. In fact, the traffic has to use Chiang Mai Bridge. But now, the southern connection will not be commissioned at the same time as the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge. The impact will be such that the traffic will have to use Airport Island and then go to Tung Chung before they can approach Chiang Mai Bridge. So the situation is no different from now for Chiang Mai Bridge. And as I said, when the traffic goes into the Airport Island and Tung Chung, we have already done the TIA. And the result is that in 2017-18, there will not be too much impact. And we will improve the significant junctions. So when the traffic goes through these junctions, the traffic will still be smooth. Therefore, overall speaking, at the end of the year when Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge is commissioned, we believe the impact on the traffic in the region is still acceptable. As for the northern connection and its design, I must state clearly here that it has no direct relation to the design of the steel cylinders. It is not that there has been insufficient reservation. 2 years ago, we did an assessment basing on results of investigation at that time, and experts also gave their comments. If we followed the original alignment for the northern connection, that is to have a submarine tunnel, then we might have to pass by certain layers of boulders, and there might be a risk according to the experts, and that is why we lowered the alignment by 10 meters in order to steer clear of the boulders. We were not doing that to steer clear of the steel cylinders, and so it resulted in a variation of the design. So this was not about any negligence. It was rather, we looked at the results of the geological investigation and we acted according to the experts' advice in order to make sure that the tunnel drilling machines will pass beneath the boulders so that it will operate smoothly and safely.
Thank you. This is really shocking because you're already drilling into the ground and you have started works for a while and you have adjusted the alignment by 10 meters. So for the cylinder, the tunnel tubes and so on and so forth, they're all in the design. How come back then you did not take into account such things, and now you have to lower it by 10 meters? So what will be the cost implications? Thank you. It's true that we had those boulders in the original design, but the northern connection is designed and built contractor. The design was done by the contractor, and the contractor decided to use the tunnel boring machine, and then we did a review, and then in 2015 there was a review. We did some site investigation to see to assess the risks when the boulders were reached according to experts. Given the geo conditions, the risk of going through the boulders was high, and some adjustment was made. It is the experts' view that the boulders should be avoided by lowering the alignment by 10 meters. So that's the reasons for the variation. As regards the cost implications as a result of the variation, we mentioned earlier that we required the contractor to make some adjustments, and now they are still working on the design. Will there be any cost implications as a result of that? We are not sure yet. What about the remaining works of the Northern Link and the Chung-hung WB? I see that the Chung-hung District Council still have very strong views as regards the portal. So you are going to extend or delay the commissioning to 2020. Given that the design is not yet confirmed, how are you going to deal with the commissioning date? For the alignment of Chung-hung WB, at first there were some views from the district. So earlier on, we adjusted the alignment and we've consulted the relevant district council. Back then, the district council raised no objection to our further study based on the revised alignment. So in end 2017, we are going to conduct the investigation study, which is expected to be completed in 2 years. In other words, by end 2019, the investigation report based on the current alignment will be completed. In other words, are you telling us that when the bridge is commissioned in 2020, TMWB will not be available yet? That's correct, because Chung-hung WB is a big project. We are still in the initial design and investigation stage. When the northern connection is commissioned in end 2020, the earliest. TMWB is not yet completed. Then there will be serious impact on the traffic condition of Tuen Mun. So I hope you will only start works after very detailed investigation. Dr. Fernando Chen, do you have any question? So far, not. So when we end the discussion of this item here, I hope the administration can deal with members' questions and reply by in writing. And this paper will be submitted to the ESC. Any further questions? No? Then this is the last meeting of this legislative session, barring further special meetings. All right, if there are no AOBs, I declare the meeting closed.